Okay, so I'm getting ready for the 2017 Texas Water Safari. I did it in 2003. Solo. I did it with my old faithful, the Gator Gutter. So I built this kit back in 2002, and ever since then it's been 15 years and it's still going strong. Some modifications that I've made that I want to show you to make it more of a river boat than an ocean going kayak. But other than that, it's the same boat. So thumbs up to Chesapeake Light Craft. They made a great kit, and I'll show you the boat in a minute. But I want to show you some of the stuff that I'm taking with me that you need for the water safari. So we start with obviously a life jacket. I'll probably be using that during the water crossing, the ocean crossing of Seadrift Bay. I think you're required to wear one, so other than that, it'll be shoved in the back of the boat somewhere. Sunglasses, big time important, and I've been using them during my training runs. But when I'm out on the river for 10 hours and I don't have sunglasses, man, you can really do some damage to your eyes. So sunglasses. Skirt. Again, this skirt, I don't have too much use for it other than when I'm out in a storm of some sort, because typically there's not enough waves in rivers to make a difference. But during storms, when it's raining hard, this comes in handy. And this will also be used during the crossing of Seadrift Bay. Spot transmitter. So this is now required, I've read. It wasn't required in 2003, but it's required now. So this is kind of a neat GPS system, so they keep track of you. And you can also push the help me SOS button, and you can get rescued if it comes to that. So pretty cool. Of course, I've got the standard water jugs, which I've built and retrofitted with tubing. So the idea is that you fill it up with your favorite beverage, drink out of it, and I've got two of them, and I've got an attachment which I'll show you on the boat how I've rigged that up. But I've got probably 6 or 7 of these, and I'm going to have my wife, who's my captain this year, along with my 2 daughters. They'll be handing these off to me. Water bottles, of course, with water bottle holders, so I can mix some protein powders and that sort of thing. Spare paddles. I didn't lose my paddle last year, or 2002, thank God, but I came close a couple of times. And I didn't have a spare, so this time I'm bringing spares. So, still my favorite paddle. All right, and then equipment. Got to have a first aid kit, and the first aid kit, pretty basic. Do have a snake bite kit. Also have spare knife and a whistle for emergency purposes. Some sort of rain jacket. Gotta have flares. That's required. I found these little things. So for the nighttime, kind of cool. They're reusable sticks, so you just kind of turn them. I like these, and they were cheap. Emergency blanket. So last time it took me 68 hours, and I'll tell you what, on that second and third night, man, I mean, I was cold, I was wet, and I was wishing I had something like this. I'm thinking of rigging a flashlight to the front of the boat and using that as a light for the nighttime. So I'm still working on that, but that's the plan. Of course, I'm going to have a million of these things, but I've got some spare goos laying around. And let's see. Headlight. There's an old one, but I'm probably going to have a new one, but got to have a headlight. Spare hat. Really important. Got to have a spare hat. And I've got a change of clothes just in case in here too. Last time it got pretty yucky, and I was really appreciative of having a change of clothes. This is the Gator Gutter. Gator Gutter was built in 2002. It's a stitch and glue constructed kit purchased from Chesapeake Light Craft. It was, I believe, a West River 180. So this guy's about 18 feet long, weighs about 50 pounds, maybe 60 pounds. And after 15 years, it's still doing great. I've made some modifications to the boat that I want to show you. Based on the 2003 attempt at the, well, actually not attempt, 2003 finish of the Texas Water Safari. Took me 68 hours, so it was pretty brutal. And I'm hoping I've made some changes to the boat, and I'm hoping that these changes are going to help me finish in a reasonable amount of time. I'm hoping for somewhere in the neighborhood of 50 hours, hopefully. Okay, so I want to show you some of the changes that I've made. In 2002, I did not have a rudder, which was really hard, but I've added a rudder. This is a Chesapeake Light Craft rudder that I purchased recently, and I retrofitted it onto the boat. It works very well. I added this little piece in here, which has been very helpful when I'm portaging. So it keeps the rudder from flapping around, and that's been very useful. So what I've also done is I have changed out the foot pedals. See if you can see them. I'm using the pedal style that don't actually move, that just kind of work based on pushing forward and backwards, so you can get a really good force from your feet still without your feet shifting. So that's really cool. Something also pretty simple but pretty cool is my new baler. So instead of having a pump or something else, I've actually got a cutout water bottle that I've rigged up to the hip pad, so it's sturdy. And really, it's actually pretty cool. I mean, you sit there and you can scoop out a pretty good amount of water every time I have to do that, and then I just shove it back in here again, and never see it again. It's one of those little things that makes a little bit of difference. I've also removed the backrest, and I've added my own backrest, which is really cool as well, because I've made it so it's adjustable. So really, depending on how bad your back is hurting, you move the backrest up and down, and so that's come in really useful also. Biggest change I made is I cut these two holes in the decking of the boat, built this support, and then I've filled the interior of this section of the boat with industrial grade foam, and then carved it out. So now what I do is I add my water, and secure it. And this is actually pretty cool. In the past, I didn't have that, and it was very difficult to hold the water in place. So I can hold two jugs, and then I'm able to drink from the tubing which is attached in my kit. So this is really cool, and it's waterproof, right? So anytime that the boat flips over, the water is displaced by the holder, and so you get very little water in there. The other thing is I removed the hatch, the back hatch, as you can see. I used to have the Chesapeake Light Craft version of this, which they're still pretty good, and it works well for the front, as you can see. But unfortunately, the back was taking too much water. Every time I flipped over, I ended up having to empty the boat out, so that wasn't working well. So I've come up with this little idea, which is watertight and a little bit lighter. So I've also built up the flange of the hole. This wasn't in place here, so I've built this up, and of course sealed it, and it's worked really well. I've also got some attachments. This is an old running backpack that I have, which I didn't use anymore, so I can now hold water bottles. And I also hold my my spot locator, which you need for the race now. And then I've got obviously the rope that I use to portage with, and I built a little fun cleat, which is epoxied over. So I actually use it quite often. It looks kind of silly, but the rope comes in anytime that I'm getting in and out of the boat. Typically, it's not a place where it's boat friendly anyway, so you got to drag the boat around, and so you got to have the rope. And this is just very useful. And of course, I got a cool He-Man knife, which every boat has to have, just in case, you know, the sharks or the alligators come for you. And okay, so that's it. So it's March 4th, so I've got about 2 months before the prelim, and then I'll have everything tested out by then. And then the Texas Water Safari is in June. So see you guys in June.